And as the European Union navigates security challenges amid the Ukraine war, debates over military aid, peacekeeping, and long-term stability takes center stage. With Poland assuming the presidency of the Council of the EU in 2025, priorities like enlargement and strategic cooperation with Serbia are gaining momentum. How can the EU balance immediate security needs with broader geopolitical goals? Joining us today on TVP World to discuss this is Vladimír Bilčík, Slovakian MEP and member of the European People's Party. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
A very good evening. I will just make one correction. Former MEP, I finished my mandate in 2024. So very good evening to you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the correction. Now, my question would be what are some of the steps that the EU can take now to ensure the military aid to Ukraine builds its negotiation power going forward?
Well, look, we've said for the past number of years since Russia's brutal and ongoing invasion, we will do what it takes to defend Ukraine. And I think it was very clear when Kaja Kallas visited just a few days ago Kiev that her message was Ukraine must win. So we must concentrate on all the efforts which will ensure that this is indeed the case. It is ultimately Ukraine's decision what victory means. But I think for all of us in Europe, we have to make sure Ukraine stays a free country, a democratic country, a country committed to EU and NATO membership. And we will have to do whatever it takes to make sure that indeed this is the end game. And in that sense, I think we need a lot more political resolve, a lot more resources, and a long-term commitment to Ukraine, including not just economic, political, but also strategic and military.
Right. Speaking of political resolve and political will, well, Germany has now ruled out troop deployments during the war, but the foreign minister also suggests peacekeeping under a ceasefire is possible. How should the EU interpret this and kind of navigate through these signals?
Well, look, we will have to do whatever it takes, and ultimately it will be up to Europe. European allies under the umbrella of NATO and the EU to take bold steps. And bold steps also means we will have to have a long-term commitment to not just peace in Ukraine, but a just peace which will ensure that Ukraine's territorial integrity and Ukraine's European and Western future is assured. And we will need troops from all NATO member states who are going to be willing to contribute. So I'm reading Germany's announcement as a positive sign in this respect.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned Ukraine's territorial integrity that needs to be assured. Well, do you think if Ukraine is willing to cede some territory for NATO membership, do you think that would pose a risk to EU principles, or do you think that might offer a new pathway to a lasting peace?
As I said, this is Ukraine's decision ultimately. Ukrainians have to decide what is their best way to a just and lasting peace. And it is their decision. And we will have to stand by and support the decision. But it has to be a decision based on really the best possible circumstances to ensure a just peace. And in that sense, I think we need to listen to the Ukrainians very carefully. But of course, when it comes to territorial integrity, territorial integrity is something which is very important, not just in the case of this conflict, but also for a lasting settlement and lasting peace across Europe. And I think this principle has to be fully safeguarded and respected and taken care of whenever that settlement is there. But let me just say, at the moment, there is heavy fighting in Ukraine. And first and foremost, we should support Ukraine much more at the moment, militarily and strategically, to make sure that Ukraine has the best possible conditions to achieve a just peace.
Right, and I would like to also draw our attention to the EU enlargement. And I was wondering, how does the integration of Serbia into the EU enhance regional security, and what challenges do you think that this process might face?
Well, I'm glad you're raising this question because I spent 5 years in the European Parliament as a standing rapporteur for Serbia, but I see this in a broader sense. Ukraine's invitation to begin accession talks, in fact, the possibility which we gave to Ukraine and Moldova at the start of this brutal invasion by Russia, that Ukraine is a candidate state, has been a game changer for EU enlargement. I think EU enlargement is indeed one of those tools that the European Union and Europeans have to use strategically. Enlargement changed Europe after 1989 for the better. Europe became stronger economically, politically, strategically. And I think this conflict is a change to make the European Union stronger once again, strategically, politically, and economically, but also militarily and in defense terms. And I think in this sense, the progress in enlargement when it comes to Ukraine should go hand in hand with the final fulfillment of a longstanding commitment we've made to the Western Balkans, to countries such as Serbia, Albania, but also others, because this is where the geopolitical fight is going on as well. There is an ongoing attempt to wield greater influence in the region, particularly by Russia, but also China. Serbia is the largest country in the region. It is the battlegrounds for external influence, and I think Europe needs to hold an upper hand. So I think we need to think about enlargement and also inclusion of Serbia in geoeconomic and geostrategic terms, and pick up on every opportunity to also move Serbia in this direction. I hope the Polish EU Council presidency can be an excellent opportunity in this respect.
All right, and let's hope that this opportunity comes into fruition. Meanwhile, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it, and thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Cheers. And thank you for tuning in to this edition of World News Tonight. For more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.